Okanagan Mission, aka The Mission. Neighborhood of the city of Kelowna, British Columbia. Wednesday, 1 day later. Doreen sat curled on the couch. All she had wanted was 3 days. 3 days of peace and quiet. Was that in the cards? She doubted it. As much as she desperately wanted to be out of the limelight and rejoice in the peace and quiet of living in her Nan's house, she had a bad feeling in her gut. Her brood was sedate, even Goliath, asleep on the other end of the couch with Muggs, all her furry or feathered babies obviously understanding how Doreen really needed that from them at this time. Thaddeus rubbed his beak along her cheek, then closed his eyes, happy to just sit on her shoulder. Unfortunately, she found no peace or quiet outside her home. Not yet today. But it was early morning, and not for the last 2 days for sure. The reporters were still at her door, even at this hour. The newspaper journalists were still writing articles about how Doreen had helped solve the decades-old cold case of Betty Miles's death, and Nan and her cronies were still enjoying being the center of attention by giving numerous interviews, supposedly on Doreen's behalf. Doreen had told Nan how that was totally fine, just happy that Nan had found something, other than her illegal betting activities, to bring excitement to her life. Indeed, Nan glowed with it. But as for Doreen, she wanted to be left alone. At that thought, her phone chimed. She glanced at her cell and groaned, but she hit the talk button anyway. "You better have a good reason for bothering me, Mac." She slid farther down on the couch until her head rested on the armrest. Thaddeus shifted his position but refused to give up his spot on her shoulder. "I figured for sure that, by now, you'd be all pepped up, raring to go," he said. She could detect the worry in his voice and had to smile. "I am, and yet I'm not. Have you any idea how deep the lineup of reporters is outside my front door? I know this is a small town, but it seems like the news hit the wires all the way across the country." "You're a celebrity," he said, laughing. His voice softened. "But no, that's not an easy position to be in." "I didn't murder anybody," she exclaimed, sitting up straight to peek through the curtains. "Why are they haunting me?" Thaddeus squawked, shot her a disgusted look when she disturbed his nap on her shoulder, hopped up to the back of the couch. Then he wandered over a few steps and proceeded to close his eyes again. "It's like everybody thinks I'm the one who's done something wrong," she said, reaching out to pet Muggs, then stroke her fingers across Goliath's back. "Remember the last time?" he asked. "This too will blow over." "Sure, but every time I find a new body," she said in exasperation, "they look at me as if I had something to do with it." "Not that you had something to do with the making of the dead bodies," he corrected, his light humor sliding through his voice. "But that your arrival precipitated all this. Or maybe you have some sort of psychic ability. You don't, do you?" His voice held a curious note to it. She chuckled at his tone. "I think by now both you and I would know if I did." "Well, you need something to cheer you up." "What have you got for me?" She stood, walking over to peer through the round window on the front door. Instantly, camera flashes went off. She stepped back and walked toward the kitchen. "Have you got a nice puzzle for me to work on?" "You mean, like another case?" "It would get me out of the dumps." Her tone turned crafty. "You know how I like a good puzzle." "You could pick up some jigsaw puzzles," he exclaimed. "That's a much safer hobby." "Murderous puzzles are much more fun." She chuckled, knowing he'd hate her answer. "And much more dangerous," he snapped. "You could have been killed last time." She shrugged. "You live and you die. At least I'd be doing something I wanted to do." "Solving cold cases?" She grinned, hearing the hesitation in his voice. "You have another cold case you're looking into, don't you?" Silence.